And Amber was filming in London at the time. She left directly from the wedding to fly to London to film London Fields with Billy Bob Thornton, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And the plan was that she was going to fly out from London to Australia directly to join you for the filming of Pirates 5, right?
At some point, yes.
And she was going to stay in that house with you for the duration of the filming, correct?
I don't know that it was the duration, but sure.
Okay. And you testified on Tuesday, I guess, that when you went there in February of 2015, you'd been off of alcohol for 18 months. You testified to that. Remember giving that testimony?
Yes.
That's just nonsense, right? We've already looked at
Thank you.
May 2014, you were drunk on that plane, and you've admitted to that. So that's not 18 months before. So that testimony that you gave when you said you had been sober for 18 months before you arrived in February of 2015 was not true, correct?
What's the objection?
May we approach?
Your Honor.
What's the objection?
He's testifying, Your Honor.
It's a compound. Could you just do maybe one question? Let's do that.
Mr. Depp, you had not been sober off of alcohol for 18 months before you went to Australia in February 2015, correct?
It's possible that it was not 18 months. Maybe it was 17. Maybe it was 16. Maybe.
It was actually a lot less than that because, at a minimum, you were drunk on that plane flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014.
That's incorrect, sir. I said that I had had a glass of champagne and I had taken a double dose of the narcotics, of the opiates. Okay. That's a very different thing from being drunk. Okay. The people, it's like a little mini trailer resort out near Palm Springs, Joshua Tree area? That's correct.
All right. And the people that were there with you on that trip were Amber, her sister Whitney, right? A woman by the name of Christy Sexton, right?
Oh, yes, okay.
Rocky Pennington?
Yes.
Right. Someone named Kelly Sue Milano or Kelly Sue Eater?
You got me.
You just remember Kelly Sue, right?
I don't remember a Kelly Sue.
Okay. Well, in fact, Kelly Sue, you recall, was sitting close to Amber, and you thought she was being affectionate toward her. You'd agree with that, right?
Sitting close is not the description I would give it myself.
Well, you just testified you didn't remember someone named Kelly Sue, but I'm putting it to you.
Well,
you remember someone named Kelly Sue who was sitting close to Amber and being affectionate, and you took exception to that, didn't you?
I wasn't aware that her name was Kelly Sue. Terribly sorry about that. I didn't know her name, but it was someone I'd never seen before who had clearly taken some happy something and was very affectionate with my girlfriend.
And so you removed Kelly Sue's hand from Amber and you yelled at Kelly Sue and told her that Amber was your girl, right?
That's not correct.
That's not correct?
No, sir.
When you wrote 2 bottles of champagne on the plane, that was about the plane ride from Boston to L.A., correct?
Yes, it comes just after 1,000 cans of Red Bull.
And at least parts of that plane flight, you were in a blackout, right?
There's
no reason you'd tell Paul Bettany that you were in a blackout if it wasn't true, correct?
There are again, when I write something, when I write a text, especially if I'm in a particularly impassioned place, it's a canvas, it's a painting.
Right.
Choose your
appreciate
colors.
that. That wasn't my question, sir. My question was very simple.
Okay.
Would you agree that at least on parts of that plane flight, you were in a blackout?
No, I wouldn't agree that I was in a blackout.
Okay,
I would
let's
say
look
that
at page
there's a difference
333
between a blackout and when you're on opiates.
Let's look at page 333 of your transcript.
333.
Keep an eye on
That's your voice making those moaning sounds sound like an animal in pain, right, Mr. Depp?
That's exactly what I said before. Yes, that is sounds like a pained animal, and
Let's
it
go to
is my voice.
250, please. And then let's go play 930, please.
Must have this fucking Canadian music, get sick.
Mr. Depp, do you know who the male voice is who at around 9:41 says, "No, I'm going to stay with this fucking idiot in case he gets sick"? Do you know whose voice that was?
I didn't hear those words.
Okay.
But
All right.
yes, that's Jerry Judge. If you wanted me to answer that.
That was Jerry Judge's voice. Okay. Yeah. So you finish this flight. You send the text that we've seen to Amber. You send the text to Paul Bettany, and at some point after this, you decide that you want to go to detox. And you went to detox. You testified a little bit about it yesterday in August of 2014 in the Bahamas, correct?
The recording of the pain noises is not from that flight, sir.
Not my question. My question is, you went to detox in August 2014, right?
Don't recall exactly.
And you were there on the island with...
Oh, on the island, yes,
yeah,
of course.
You were there on the island with Amber and Debbie Lloyd and Dr. Kipper, correct?
That's correct, yes.
You and Amber were on one side of the island. Mr. Depp, you had not been sober off of alcohol for 18 months before you went to Australia in February 2015, correct?
It's possible that it was not 18 months, maybe it was 17, maybe it was 16. Maybe.
It was actually a lot less than that, because at a minimum, you were drunk on that plane flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014.
That's incorrect, sir. I said that I had had a glass of champagne and I had taken a double dose of the narcotics, of the opiates. Okay. That's a very different thing from being drunk.
Okay, and a very different thing from what you texted Paul Bettany, correct?
Again.
Okay, so the Boston flight was in May 2014. You go to Australia in February of 2015, having testified that you were off of alcohol for 18 months. Now, when you went to Australia in February of 2015, you also lied to the cast insurance company that was insuring you for Pirates 5, didn't you?
After she cut my finger off?
No. Well, that's your account of it, sir. Before you went to Australia, you testified yesterday about her not giving you medications at a certain time, but you, sir, have no personal knowledge of whether or when Amber had been in touch with Dr. Kipper or Debbie Lloyd about when to give you medicine, correct?
You
have no personal knowledge of that.
Yes, I do. I remember Amber calling them on the radio, and when I was complaining that I needed the meds when I was in agony, and went to the shower. She called them up because she had...
For the last few days of the trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, Depp himself took the stand and pled his case to a jury. Along the way, he made various claims to try and showcase his side of the story in regards to the abuse that was allegedly done by him and allegedly done to him. His own testimony carried out over the course of several days seemed to make it clear that he was just a man who was trying to make a failing marriage work. Today, Amber Heard's team got to cross-examine him, and it was very telling in some ways. We'll break it down for you. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 7. Cross-examination. Johnny Depp faced further harsh and messy revelations today about his alcohol and drug use while under cross-examination in the $50 million defamation trial against Amber Heard. Not that the man who portrayed the South's Captain Jack Sparrow for years was taking it lying down, even with what came across as a storm of incriminating documentation. No, I wasn't drinking that heavily. It's what you define as heavily. Depp snapped back at defense attorney Ben Rottenborn at one point when pressed about his intake in the last years of his long-term relationship with Vanessa Paradis, the mother of his now 2 grown children. Subsequently, the lawyer read out testimony from Depp's failed 2020 UK libel case against the Sun tabloid, where the actor had said, "I was abusing alcohol for sure," during the end of the Paradis relationship. After quipping, "Were you there?" to Rottenborn over his drinking, Depp softly admitted that the testimony from the other side of the Atlantic was what he said, seemingly a contradiction of his stance in this case that he is not a heavy drinker and has pretty much never had a problem with booze. Contradictions are something that Johnny Depp should be doing his hardest not to let happen, and yet here and in other parts that wasn't necessarily the case at all. Number 6. Addiction. At one point, communications from Depp were read out in the Virginia courthouse, slamming the French extortionist and ex in reference to Paradis, putting down a blueprint from the defense of a pattern such as excessive language and intent on Depp's part. However, in a day that saw references to Keith Richards and Elton John, among others, Depp's apparently widespread drug use was the primary focus of the latter part of today's proceeding in the high-profile battle between the ex. As more photographs and text messages were displayed in court, Depp sought again to stress his intake wasn't about enjoyment, but trying to handle the blast radius from his dysfunctional childhood and cinematic workload. "It's not like I took the pills to get high, I took the pills to get normal," the ex-Pirates of the Caribbean star declared of his addiction to oxycodone several years ago. The extent of that addiction and other substances was made crystal clear in a text by one of his nurses who had commented on the 2015's Black Mass. "I was high as a mother when I made that film," Depp told the nurse with a digital laugh, again not showing Johnny in the best light, and things only grew more dour from there. Number 5. Outbursts. Later in the morning, the literary aspiring Depp tried to give his own spin on his communications, as he has repeatedly over the past 3 days and in past court filings. "When I write a text, especially if I'm in a particularly impassioned place, it's a canvas, it's a painting," actor proclaimed before being shut down by Rottenborn. Destruction of property in rooms full of hookers and animals and blood were also brought up today in a methodical process that aimed to fray Depp's assertions of his personality and conduct in his relationship to Heard and previously. A May 2013 trip out to the near Palm Springs with Heard and others was also entered into the record. Depp punched up a bathroom on that visit after an argument with openly bisexual Heard about the attention another woman was giving her. Following up on that incident, an unflattering July 11, 2013 text to Avengers actor Paul Bettany, who was mentioned at length earlier in the day, was read out. "I of course pounded and displayed ugly colors to Amber on a recent journey," Depp told Bettany, as the duo planned a future trip together. "Ugly and sad, oh how I love it," Depp added to his friend. 2014 attempt at Depp detoxing saw the actor take much less flamboyant and aggressive approach to his text. "Thank you so much for getting me clean, baby," he wrote her. Another communication to Heard's mother after detox effort praised the actress and said it was Amber and Amber only that got me through this. This is important because a previous testimony by Depp noted that Heard was at times withholding his medication and allowing him to suffer just because it wasn't time to take them, further showing her control over him. Number 4. Acting in affairs. Depp admitted in court Thursday that he believed in 2014 Heard was having an affair with James Franco, with whom she was making a movie. The actor bristled over a low-key lawyer Rottenborn's description of him being in a blackout for portions of private jet flight from Boston to LA, where Depp and Heard fought over Franco, though confronted by testimony from his UK libel trial that said otherwise. Depp refused to admit he was very drunk on that flight and could not black out from his consumption of oxycodone. Later, the actor rambled about caving in his British testimony before being cut off for brevity by Rottenborn. Depp was also not impressed by Rottenborn challenging his assertion that he had lied about being sober for 18 months before traveling to Australia in 2015 to work on the troubled Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, indicative of how sharp elbow things may get going forward for the rest of Thursday. An insurance form taken out by the Walt Disney Company for Depp's role in the tentpole flick was introduced in the record just before the lunch break. The February 11, 2015 dated document asked if Depp was taking illegal substances, whether prescribed by a physician or not, and the actor checked no, the defense in contending that Depp lied on the form. Number 3. The text. Johnny Depp's texts were also a very key matter in terms of what was said and not said at the trial, because apparently Depp went to great lengths to describe his frustrations with Heard and how their marriage was going, even talking about it with his friends at the time in Paul Bettany and Marilyn Manson, the latter of whom is not exactly the best person to be connected to right now, given the various accusations made of him by various women. Depp had to sit on the stand as many of these texts were read out loud and showed the very profane and violent language in which he described wanting to do various things to her at various points in their marriage. Now, it is also true that Johnny Depp has talked about these texts in the past and even noted that he was embarrassed by what he said in the past, even apologizing for what he wrote at one point. Still, it is very interesting that this and other issues were brought up during this trial, as it very much gave a black eye of sort, at least for now, on Depp, who came off as very sympathetic to the jury and others during his own testimony and previous few days. Number 2. Does this damage his case? There are many on Amber Heard's defense squad that would like to go and admit that they had a very successful day in court in terms of smudging Johnny Depp's name and poking holes in his previous testimony, as well as the testimony of others who were on the stand. And make no mistakes that what was discussed today and debated at length does indeed make Johnny Depp look less than innocent on certain matters. But the key words here are on certain matters, because don't forget, this is about physical abuse from Johnny onto Amber, and even vice versa, as Johnny has noted and proved to a certain extent that Amber has been abusive to him. It's her defense team's job to showcase that Johnny Depp definitely abused Amber physically, and as of yet, they haven't actually done that. They've proven that Johnny Depp was an angry man during their marriage, and that he was grateful to Amber for some things and spoke violently about her in other contexts, but so far at least, they haven't definitely proven abuse of the physical kind. In contrast, many witnesses have noted that they never saw Johnny abuse her, and that others never saw the bruises that she claimed she had, including one of her own assistants and a doctor that treated them both. Things are still relatively early in the trial, and as results of that, they might be building up to their biggest pieces of evidence. But you would also have to wonder why they aren't going right for the jugular right now, and instead are doing a smear campaign with text and drug use and so on, without going and talking about Depp physically abusing her repeatedly as she claims. Number 1. Amber's turn. The flip side of this, though, is very important, because while it's true that Johnny Depp is getting grilled on the stand, Amber Heard is going to be on the stand soon enough to both speak her piece on the matter and get cross-examined by Johnny's team herself. This is very important because there's little doubt that Depp's team has similar tactics and evidence to go on and present in order to smear Heard's name and prove that she was abusive to him. And it's very possible that, like Johnny, she'll come off as sympathetic after her personal testimony, but then come off with a bit more of a gray area on her after the cross-examination is done, given that the trial isn't set to end until the end of May. There are still plenty of ways that this case could go. And there you have it, everyone, a look at the cross-examination of Johnny Depp and how these new statements and questions might change the outlook of the case as a whole. And there you have it, everyone, a look at the cross-examination of Johnny Depp and how these new statements and questions might change the outlook of the case as a whole. Do you think that Heard's team sunk two low blows to try and discredit Depp, or do you think that they were perfectly in line and just tried to make their case? What will happen when Amber Heard herself takes the stand? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.